I have to look at you, or can I look at you?
Hey everybody, welcome to Financial Gardens, day 2 of Real Estate Week. I'm so glad to have Rochell Montaie joining me today. We're going to be talking about everything you need to know when going through the home buying process from a real estate broker. So I'm going to get started and introduce her. Rochell Montaie is a real estate broker in Atlanta, Georgia area, and she is from Detroit originally. She is a gas technician. Uh,
Hey.
Oh Lord, y'all get on my nerve. So bad. And she has her degree from UAD Mercy and Wash College. She has her master's in accountancy, and we actually met during her internship at a Fortune 100 company in Detroit. And she was just so smart and a go-getter. I had to befriend her when she was interning at a company that we both worked at. And so she is a true Detroiter. You want me to shout out your street?
No.
But she Cass Tech alumni, UAD alumni, Wash College alumni. And so I'm so honored to have her here because not only is she an expert in real estate as a real estate broker, but she also has a strong accounting background as well. So we are going to be having a great conversation. So if you have any questions, make sure you drop them in the comments so we can read them. And without further ado, Rochelle, you want to say hi and maybe add something I missed to your intro?
No, nothing but it was a pleasure meeting Latasha at DTE when working at doing an internship there. It's crazy. She's been an awesome mentor. I think she's amazing. She's awesome. Her businesses. She has a great financial mind, investing, everything. She is awesome. So I'm glad she feels the same way. I'm glad that we became friends back in 2013. It's been a journey. I appreciate you and everything that you do. And I'm so excited about your business and excited to share real estate with people.
Yeah. And, I got to plug Essence. Financial Garden is a semi-finalist in the Essence competition, Build Your Legacy. And if you go over to financialgarden.com, you will see a pop-up. When you get to my website, just click vote. Vote for me. It's a chance for Financial Garden to get a $100,000 grant to expand our mission. If you don't know what Financial Garden is, it's a financial education company. And I have educated over 700 students in Detroit and surrounding areas. So go and vote for me. All right. So let's get into this question. If you guys see me looking down, it's because I'm looking for comments and to drag it over. All right. So yesterday we had on Sean Jones, who's a real estate senior mortgage banker. And tonight I wanted to have you on to get your perspective as a real estate broker on if I'm thinking about buying a home, after I go figure out how much I qualify for or whatever, may not even be that process working with you. Like, what's the first thing I should do when I want to buy a home?
Okay, so the first thing I recommend most people to do if you're, sitting at home thinking about purchasing a home is finding the right agent. So there's a few things you can do. First of all, you want to ask around people that you know. That word of mouth is usually always a good referral. Also, you want to do your reviews, Zillow reviews. Go check me out at Zillow, 5-star agent. Again, that's Rochell Montaie on Zillow. Again, you want somebody who's personable, someone who you feel, that you can connect with. You want someone who's available, someone who works weekends, someone who also works after hours, after 5 p.m. Most people in the market to purchase a home simply work 9 to 5. So you want someone who's available for you. You also want someone who's timely and responding. It's one of the most important things in real estate. So you want someone who's going to respond to not only to you, but to all the parties within that real estate deal. So again, indicators, about their timeliness and their availability is very, very important. And also you want someone who's going to communicate to you as well as educate you throughout the process. I take a lot of pride in the education piece that I do throughout the process with all of my clients. And I think that's really, really important. So those are some of the things that you definitely want to look for. Again, read the reviews, trust the reviews, and word of mouth referrals are a great way to go as well.
Okay, I want to back up too because I forgot to do a disclaimer. I'm a licensed CPA and Rochelle's a licensed broker, but this is for educational purposes only. So I want to put that out there. If you want to know details, reach out to us, either one of us one-on-one for more one-on-one advice, but this is just for educational purposes. Okay, so finding an agent. I'm watching you right now. You're in Atlanta. So should I reach out to you for a referral or find someone to connect with me, or do I have to work with someone in Michigan? What do you suggest about that?
So yes, you do have to work with someone that is licensed in your state. So you need a Michigan real estate agent. But as you know, I'm from Detroit, and so I have a lot of connections around the city. I have friends and family that are in the business. So yes, if you want a referral from someone that like myself, someone that you can trust, you would reach out to me directly, and I can put you in contact with someone or the person that I feel may best fit for you or that work the area for you. Again, yes, reach out to me in order to get that referral.
Okay, so finding an agent is number one. So thank you, T. Hopefully I'm seeing T. Marie for your comment. So finding an agent for me, I know my Rochelle is the reason that I got involved in real estate. If you do not know my story, I paid off $80,000 of debt before the age of 30. And so when I was thinking about investing, I'm like, I'm going to invest in my business. I'm going to do a Roth IRA. I'm going to do more into index funds. And Rochelle called me like, you need to buy a house. You need to get involved in multifamily investing. And I was like, no, I'm not doing that. You remember I was just like, I'm not doing that. That was so scary to me. And she is a great friend because she kept pushing me. And luckily, when I was going through my home buying process, she referred me to a great real estate agent. And even with that referral, I was still able to ask Rochelle questions along the way about the home buying process. So one of those things was after she referred me to an agent, and like Rochelle said, finding the right fit. So my real estate agent was available after hours. I work 9 to 5 and I have my business. She was available on the weekends, and she was very timely with responding. So if you're reaching out to a real estate agent and they're not even timely when you're initially reaching out, no matter how great the referral is, you need to move along. Because when you're in real estate, you want someone that's going to be responsive and attentive to you. So one of the things I had asked Rochelle, is it normal for me? I found my agent and she wanted me to sign this buyer broker agreement. And I was like, what does this mean? Like, do I really got to sign this? So if you want to shed some light on what a buyer broker agreement is after I find my agent.
Yeah. So a buyer brokerage agreement basically is simply the contract between you, the buyer, and the brokerage. So for example, I work for Palmer House. That if you sign a buyer brokerage agreement with me, it will be between my Palmer House, myself, and you, saying that I will render some services to you. It also tells about a couple of your responsibilities as the buyer. Time is of the essence, and that timely, that being available and being timely, that goes for the buyer as well. There's some things throughout the process that's going to require that from both sides. So the buyer brokerage is totally normal. Most agents will require that before they actually take you out to see any homes. Because what that agreement does is it says you as the buyer don't pay the agent anything at all. The buyer's agent commission comes from the owner of the home. When they sell the home, they pay a commission to their agent, and that agent then shares the commission between the buyer's agent and the seller's agent. Okay. So in order to ensure that I'll get that money from that listing agent, I need this contract, the contract between myself and the client. And this, like I said, this guarantees me that commission for working with you. You don't have to pay it, but again, you just sign this document. Now, what people are afraid of sometimes is getting stuck in the document.
Yeah, that's one of the things I asked you. I'm like, if I sign this, what if I don't like this person? How can I get out of this agreement? I was really nervous about signing this agreement because it's a contract. Agreed.
But like with most contracts, right, there's a way out. Again, there are some services that me as the agent, I'm going to render to you, and there are some services that you to the buyer, to the agent. if the agent isn't rendering those services, if they are not being timely, again, the word time is of the essence are in the contract for a reason. If this agent is not being timely, my suggestion to you would be simply to compose an email to the broker as well as the agent asking to be released from the contract. Generally that's enough to get you out of the contract, because at that point it's a breach of contract if they're not holding up their end of the agreement. Don't be afraid to sign the agreement, and don't be afraid to get out of the agreement if that person isn't holding up their end of the deal.
Right. And I actually had a friend who a few years back was buying a home, and she was telling me like she didn't like the real estate agent, and she signed this agreement, and I didn't know what it was because it was before I had my house, but now I understand. And I'm like, if it's the agreement, can't you just get out of it? Isn't that big of a deal? And she eventually did, but it's something you can get out of if it doesn't work. So, hey, Teach, no problem. I love talking about real estate, so thank you for watching. And hey, Ayana, thank you so much for watching as well. Okay, so if you guys have any questions right now, let us know. So we got the buyer broker agreement. I found my broker, not my broker. I found my real estate agent. I signed on with them. They're going to be great. And now we're going to talk about lending. And I put down payment assistance program because Shauna Jones was on yesterday, and we didn't really talk about any down payment assistance programs, but I do want to share that information with you all. If you were watching in Atlanta, Rochell is a great resource to talk about a little bit here, and I know some great resources too. So I want to kind of put that in number 3 with lending. So do you prefer people come to you with their pre-approval first before you talk to them, or what do you advise as far as lending?
I want to be the first person that you talk to.
Okay.
A lot of agents do. I can't say a lot. Some agents will require that you have a pre-qualification. Why? Because it means you're a serious buyer. It means that you've consulted with some financial institution that says you have the ability to purchase a home. So that means you're a serious buyer. So some agents do require you to have that letter. Again, I don't require that. Let me tell you why. If I'm able to be your, speak with you, become your agent first, I have the ability to refer you to people, all the add-on services such as lenders, closing attorneys, etc. However, but if I have a track record or an experience of success with certain lenders in my market, why wouldn't you want that referral?
Okay.
And I don't say to use my referral and just run with it. I always suggest to all of my buyers to shop around and things to shop for, such as the rate, such as the fit, such as the availability. That matters on all ends of the deal. The fees. So those are things that you want to shop for. Again, and Latasha said down payment assistance program. There's a program here in Georgia. It's called the Georgia Dream Program, and currently they're offering $15,000 in free money to first-time home buyers. And what that means is if you have not purchased in the last 3 years, that's what a first-time home buyer is. So, again, that program, not all lenders can actually fund that program or actually participate with that program. So that's something important. Again, I could, send you to Sean or, to whomever, to Bank of America. But if Bank of America can't get you the Georgia Dream Program, that extra $15,000 in free money.
Whoa, that's a lot of money.
$15,000 in free money. The only thing you need to do in order for the loan to be forgivable, which you make 0 payments on the loan, and then becomes forgivable in 5 years if you just stay in the home. Year number 6, you can sell the home. No one cares.
Can you say that? I'm sorry to interrupt you because I got some comments coming in. Name that program again. If you were in Georgia, what's the name of the program?
The Georgia Dream Program.
Georgia Dream Program. Okay.
Yeah. And feel free to give me a call. There are other programs, that are available for certain people. There are income restrictions and things of that nature that, that go into effect as well. So just give me a call. We can definitely discuss those options. But again, when you find the right agent, then you can, if you find the right lender, and I'll just, make a quick note yesterday, as Sean said, which most lenders will say, I don't want you to shop around. It's insulting. But again, if you contact Sean and Sean doesn't have that Georgia Dream Program and you didn't shop around, then you lost out on $15,000. So it's important to, like I said, work with a trusted realtor, one who's educated and one who can provide you referrals for people that they've had success with.
Okay, one second, Rochelle. So I got some comments. So Tanya is saying, is it a time limit that you can get out of with an agent? So do you mean, so if I don't like my agent, like we go out day 4, she's late, he's late, and I want to get out of it, do I have to wait a certain amount of time to get rid of that agent? Or
So let's say, so actually the buyer brokerage agreement has dates, and those dates are put in by the agent. So those are dates that you can rebuttal or agree to or not. Again, I think it's fair to give an agent 90 days worth of service, and during that time, again, if something occurs, then simply you write that letter to the broker. This is a professional industry, and trust me, you write a letter to the broker and things aren't, the services aren't being rendered, you can get out of that contract. So again, I think it's fair to give an agent at least 90 days of service. But again, you can do a shorter term contract, and at any point, day 2, if it doesn't go right, you write that email.
Okay. So I have a question from Ayana. What is the recommendation for partnerships with buying multi-unit properties for investments? Is it a good idea? Where do you go to draw up a contract for that partnership? So you're saying you want to go, I'm thinking you're saying you want to buy multifamily with somebody else and you want to draw up an agreement on that. Do you have any insight on that, or is that more of something to talk about with a real estate attorney?
Well, actually, no, because if you want to form a partnership, that's totally separate. You form a business as a partnership, and when you go to purchase the home, you simply purchase the home in the name of the partnership.
Okay.
So you simply open up a business as a partnership, totally separate, and then that entity purchased the home as the buyer.
Okay, so I want to pause here. So Rochelle's going to be back on Thursday. We're going to be talking a lot about real estate investing. I have a couple properties. She has some properties. So we're going to be going detail with multifamily investing and investing in general. But like Rochelle said, if you need to have that business established first, right? So whether it's an LLC or a partnership, you need to have that paperwork filed first, have an EIN, have a business bank account before you guys go in and buy a house together. Or you're going to need that first before you, whatever you decide as far as buying the house.
Correct.
So if you have, so let us know we answer that question. Thank you, Danielle. Let me see. So can you see that question, Rochelle? Would I be considered a first-time home buyer if I'm on a deed with my husband who has a VA loan?
I would like to say with 100% certainty that yes, you would be a first-time home buyer if you are not on that loan. Again, you're just on the deed, so you have not went to a bank and got lending to purchase a home. So you would be considered a first-time home buyer.
Okay, so it definitely makes a difference if you are on the mortgage and not just the deed. So that's a good question. Again, I'm going to put Rochelle's information up here. Shoot her a text if you have a question. Obviously not during this live, or shoot her an email or whatever. She's a great resource. She is, if you're just tuning in, she is a broker in Atlanta, Georgia. She gave some tips about the Georgia Dream program, right?
Yes.
And so you have a lot of experience working with that program. So here in Michigan, if you're not familiar, you may want to Google National Faith Home Buyers or MSHDA, MSHDA. Those two programs, we'll talk about down payment assistance that is available. National Faith Home Buyers is actually the first time home buyers class that I went through. And when I was going through, I just wanted some information. I knew nothing about buying a home. I didn't have a live to watch like this right now. And so I had a ton of questions, and I just wanted to educate myself on the process. People were there because they needed to get a certain amount of MSHDA credits to be able to get down payment assistance programs. And at the time, the down payment was, I think, like $7,500. It varies depending on how much funding is available in the state of Michigan. But again, National Faith Home Buyers is one of those, one of the organizations that hosts first-time home buyers classes. So if you want the information, definitely leave a comment below. I'll go back through the comments and make sure I'm answering everything for that information. But that's one of the National Faith Home Buyers doesn't give you the money, but they are one of the they're accredited to give the credit for you to get the down payment assistance. So MISHDA, Michigan Housing Department Association, whatever it stands for, I'm drawing a blank. They are actually the program that gives down payment assistance. And a friend of mine purchased a home last year and got $15,000 down assistance. So it changes every year. So I wanted to talk about that because, and I'm glad you said that. Not every lender has that program. So if you go to a big bank, I'm not going to name any of them. When you go to any of those big banks, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to have those down payment assistance programs. So what you want to do first, like she said, if you went to a real estate agent first and they know what your funding is like, they can refer you. And a lot of those programs do depend on your income. So if you are high income, you're not going to be able to qualify for a down payment assistance program. I'm not sure what those levels are, but that information is available on MISHDA.com. So before I get to, I have some more comments, but do you want to touch on anything else about the Georgia Dream program? You have a recent example or anything you want to share?
Well, I actually did just recently close the Georgia Dream program with a client who was looking in the Buckhead area. We found a condo. This client literally put $1,000 into the deal. She has a beautiful Buckhead condo now that she owns.
You got a condo in Buckhead?
Yes.
Now Atlanta is my second home. I'm always in Atlanta visiting Rochelle. Got family down there, other friends. So I know Atlanta like the back of my hand. Buckhead is a nice area. Real nice.
$1,000 into the deal. And if you guys were here yesterday with Sean, you all know that there's down payment, which could be approximately 3 to 5%. And then there's closing costs, which could be approximately 3 to 4% of the total deal. And if we're talking numbers, we're talking approximately $8,000 on a $100,000 house, $16,000 on a $200,000, and so forth and so on. So she put $1,000 into the deal. And when we're talking a home at approximately the $200,000 mark. So again, to be able to get that free $15,000 down helps cover the down payment as well as the closing costs. She was able to get that house with nothing but the earnest money. And we'll talk about earnest money a little later.
Okay, yeah. So I just want to put that out there. Don't just Google and see what the requirements are in your state. We're talking about Georgia and Michigan right now. But a lot of people may think, oh, if I get a down payment assistance, I can only probably buy in a certain area. Her client bought a condo in Buckhead. In Buckhead, if you are not familiar with Atlanta, Buckhead is like Birmingham in Michigan. To give you some perspective. Let me see if I missed some questions, some comments. Hold on. Shana is saying, I bought my home 5 years ago. I got an FHA loan and also mentioned for down payment assistance. With a FHA, is a good idea to refinance my home? Oh, that was a good question for Sean yesterday, but you want to try to tackle it or you want to defer?
Oh, yeah. Should you refinance your home? If you have 20% equity in your home, I absolutely think you should refinance your home. Some of the things that you want to consider when refinancing your home, and it's just comparing costs. You want to identify what your PMI is, your mortgage insurance payment is, or private mortgage insurance. You want to identify what that payment it is. That payment could be $150, $170, $200, but you want to identify what that number is. That's the amount of money that you're throwing in the garbage every month. So essentially, that's the amount of money that you save if you were able to refinance out of that FHA loan, if you have 20% of equity in your home. And again, that means, $100,000 loan, and your home is worth $100,000 and your loan is $80,000 or less. Then, the bank would refinance your home. Again, that's something you want to consider closing costs, how much it's going to cost you up front to refinance your loan, because you'll be saving. And then what you're going to compare that to is the amount that you're saving times 12 times how many every years you have left on your loan to come out to see, does it make sense for me to save $170 now? It could cost you $4,000 or $5,000 in closing costs. Now, I will say the closing costs for a refinance can be baked into the loan. So again, it could be no money to you today, and you save your PMI for the rest of the life of your loan. So I absolutely think it's something worth exploring and talking to a lender about. Feel free to give me a call if you want to, me to put you in connection with some people that may better be able to help you locally.
Okay, so I just put your information back on the screen for people who don't know. I got some more comments on here. Thank you for the compliment. We are trying to educate everybody right now. Home ownership is so important. It's a lot of conversation going on about home ownership and Black wealth specifically right now. So it's a great conversation going on. And one of those things is home ownership. So this is why I wanted to do real estate week today. So impact. Not sure if that was a comment or a name of a program. I think I'm good with the question so far. Tish, yeah, it's gonna be saved on. It's gonna be on Financial Gardens page. So if you or on YouTube, so you will be able to watch this replay if you have to jump off.
Share it too.
All right, so I'm going to get back into what we just discussed. We talked about the lender down payment. So now I know about those programs, and I know I got my real estate agent. Now, next in the process, I want to start my search, right?
Right. So this is the fun part. This is the part everybody likes. But this is the part where you kind of reassess with your agent. And again, when I say reassess, this could be the next day because the pre-qualification process can happen as quickly as 24 to 48 hours. So at this point, you want to chat with your agent and kind of discuss what it is that you like. What areas you're looking at, if there's a certain school district that works for you, just the things that matter to you in a home, the number of bedrooms and all the criteria that you're looking for. This process could take a long time or it could be quick. And I have two stories explaining the two scenarios that I've had with a process continuing months and months and then a process happening as quickly as 27 days total. But again, things that matter, things that can impact the length of time that you're out searching could be the availability of the market. For example, like I said, in school districts, I have a client who is looking in a specific school district, and every time something hits the market in her price range, we go out and take a look. It just doesn't meet her qualifications. So with that being said, we've been looking for months because we're stuck on nothing but a school district. Sometimes it's the comfort level and the thought process of the buyer. Some buyers think that they have to see 100 homes before they make an offer. That's a mistake sometimes. Sometimes you walk into, the first house, you love it, and that's the house either you end up back at or you wanted to go back to, and then it's no longer on the market. So again, a lot of things are, to consider there and why things can make the process long or short. I had one young lady who was coming down to Georgia to go to school. Her parents drove her down one Saturday. I met them in the morning. We looked at about 12 homes all over Metro Atlanta. We ended up in Smyrna, and this was the last home we saw. She loved it. We placed an offer. The offer was accepted quickly. We moved forward, and again, this is the young lady that I told you we closed in 27 days. She literally looked at 12 houses one day, went back home. She doesn't live here, in the metro area. So drove back home. We literally handled this deal, over the phone. I was there for her inspection for her, things like that. So, this can be done. Again, that was a 27-day process. Again, I have another client right now. We're still looking.
I like that you shared that story because for me, I know my whole process was 60 days. So I found my multifamily on the 5th house because I knew what I was looking for. And it was different too because it wasn't an emotional attachment. I wasn't looking for my forever home. So it really depends on a lot what you're looking for. Some people are like, it has to be perfect. So they're in the market for 6 months. Driving a real estate agent crazy. Deals because it has to be perfect and hit every checklist, which is fine. It's just going to take you longer to find a house or stuck on a school district. So everybody's search is different. But I will say too, one thing I want to point out is when you are doing your search, is what you see on pictures is so different from what you see in person sometimes, right? Do you feel the same way about that, Rochelle? She kind of freezing up there, but let's see if we can. You back?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Yep.
I
Okay.
was saying, how do you feel about when you look at pictures online versus what you see in person? How do you feel about that? I know my personal experience, I've seen some houses, I'm like, this is not the same house.
People are creative.
All right, so Rochelle is freezing. So I'm gonna give her a second to get back on and reconnect. So I'm gonna shoot her a text. One moment. I see some comments coming through. Um, no problem, Tish.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yep, I can hear you now. It's just like muffled out. So drop some comments if you can't hear Rochelle or if you frozen.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Okay. So I was asking, what do you think about when you look at pictures versus being in person with a home?
Uh-oh.
No, we having a Teddy Riley moment.
Let me see if I can get this.
Get the IT guy.
It's still back. Give me 1 second.
Yep. So I'm gonna give Rochelle a minute to connect, but I want to just share my story about looking at homes in person versus pictures. You can get excited from a home from what you look at on Zillow or Redfin or Realtor.com and go in person and be like, wow, this is definitely not the house that I was looking at. So it's important to actually go to the home and look, like when you're, even if you're thinking about buying out of state, like you said, you have someone purchase a home, Rochelle, you back in. So are you back in now for real? Okay. All right. So what I wanted to say too is about going in person. What if if I'm working with a realtor, what do they give me when I'm looking for a home? Do you just tell me to keep looking on Zillow, or what happens with that when you're sending me listings?
I will advise my clients to continue to look on their various sites. The reason being is because everything won't be on the FMLS. Now, don't get me wrong. There's going to be some things on the FMLS that don't show up on Zillow or Realtor or Trulia. So that's why it's really important to do, the combination of the two. You see something on Zillow that doesn't appear in the list that your agent sent you, you might want to inquire and just say, wonder why this one didn't show up in the listing. Now, there may be a good reason for that, or we may need to extend our search for one reason or another. But that's a good opportunity to, validate that point.
Okay, so I want to. We have a quick question from Reese. How are you handling tours of homes with COVID-19? You've been busy. You've been busy since this whole started, but I already gave away her answer. But go ahead with how you handling a home tour.
I simply require my clients, myself, we all wear gloves and masks into people's homes. I try to make sure that my clients are, touching things minimally. I open up doors with my glove. You have some homeowners who are actually providing booties and gloves and face masks, opening doors, keeping on lights and things of that nature. But we're making it happen. Getting people in homes.
Okay. All right. So okay. I find a home. This is working for me. I want to make an offer. I'm not gonna take all day to figure out what I want to do. I'm ready to make an offer. So what does it look like to make an offer? Is it like what you see on TV? Like, you ever seen House Hunters? It's like they just make an offer and they home like, ooh, it's just perfect. What is it like when you make an offer?
Of course, it doesn't go like that. But the offer is the fun part. It's the part. So one thing to consider when it's time to make the offer, as you said, the earnest money deposit, EMD. And earnest money simply is nothing but a deposit on a home to tell the seller that you're serious about moving forward in the deal. So when you're ready to make an offer, you need to be ready to tell the seller you're serious and place your deposit. The earnest money deposit is generally between 1% and 2%.
Okay.
For my clients, I try to do 1%. So again, you're purchasing a $200,000 house. We don't want to put down more than $2,000 worth of earnest money. But again, when it's time to make the offer, there's a few things to consider. One thing, and as Sean mentioned yesterday, you do want to consult with your lender. Now, if you're working with a great agent such as myself, no, seriously, there's things that I do to differentiate myself from other agents. And there's things that I do just because I care and I want to help the buyer understand the process. So, as Sean mentioned yesterday, there's things that are included in your mortgage. There's principal and interest, and then there's taxes and insurance. And those four components make up the mortgage payment, monthly. The principal and interest, the lender can kind of tell you that off rip. Okay. Hey, you're pre-approved for $150,000 at 3%. Your principal and interest would be approximately X dollars. Now, mind you, that's at the 150 price range, and because that's at the max approval. And again, so that's what they give you that number based on. Now, the taxes and insurance, taxes can be found on the county's website, wherever the home is located. You want to verify that information for yourself. And this is something you do during your due diligence period. After you made your offer, but you want to verify the taxes as well. You can get, once you have a subject property, a home with an address and all the information on it, you can also get a quote for homeowners insurance. And that's important because when the lender tells you what your mortgage payment estimation is, they're estimating taxes and they're estimating insurance. Once we really know those numbers, that's when more accurately what your mortgage payment would be. Again, like I said, I am the type of agent that can kind of help you configure those numbers, but this is the time where you would kind of touch back with your lender just to verify the actual number that you're looking forward to paying, depending on, and then these are the components of the offer: the sales price, the closing concession, meaning what the seller is willing to pay toward your closing costs, that 3 to 4%. The due diligence period, which is very important, and we'll break that apart, and then other stipulations. Again, these are the components of the offer that you need to discuss with your agent. The selling price. Again, the house is listed for $200,000. Is it worth it? A good agent is going to go do a quick market analysis to determine what homes have sold for in that area most recently, to determine if you're paying a fair price for the home or offering a fair price for the home. Additionally, a good agent is going to look at what other homeowners are paying for closing costs. If because I don't want you to go on with a weak offer. For example, $100,000 sales price, and no one else in the block has gave closing costs. I'm not going to ask that seller to, hey, give us $5,000. I may shoot something lower because I know what's going on in the market in the other homes. And then due diligence. Due diligence is really, really important because that is your get out of jail free card.
Okay.
Your get out of jail free card. And usually it's between 7 to 12 days is what's usually negotiated. And again, that's negotiated by your agent. Okay. And within that period, this is the time when I said do your due diligence. You're checking the tax record. You're checking, you're going to get an inspection. You're going to check to make sure the schools that's listed is the actual school that home is routed to, because you would hate.
So important. Say again? You're thinking you're in a certain district and you're not. So that's so important.
Very important. Very important. And so, but those are the components and the things to consider within that offer. Again, your agent will walk you through those points.
So you got a shout out. So I'm assuming this is a past client here saying you are really great all the way down to the closing table. She has your best interest in mind. That's why she on here. Taxes do make a big difference in your purchase. So I want to say this too, because you see a lot of different memes and say, oh, you out here renting, that $800 could be an $800 mortgage payment. No, your mortgage payment, if you want to get out of renting, in my opinion, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Rochelle, you shouldn't be saying, oh, I should be able to pay an $800 mortgage, because your mortgage is just one part of your monthly payment. If you want to escrow in your taxes and your homeowner's insurance, that is going to be on top of your mortgage. So you want something that's less. You want to buy a home, the purchase price and what that will be just for your mortgage payment itself needs to be significantly less than what your rental payment is. So do you agree with that? Do people make that mistake a lot, thinking that if I pay $1,200 in rent, I can afford to pay a single $1,200 mortgage payment?
Um, I I don't necessarily think that's the thought process. You pay $1,200 in rent. I think you should consult with an agent who can put you in touch with a great lender to kind of discuss because as we learned yesterday, debt to income matters. When
Yeah.
you're renting a home, having a free $1,200 to pay your rent is, that's different. But to get a loan, you have to have that debt to income ratio in order, your credit in order. So there's different things, and I wouldn't compare those things apples to apples. I would say consult with the lender to find out your viability.
Get me together. Well, I'm gonna speak out of turn because I'm not a real estate a real estate agent or a mortgage banker, but I'm just saying a lot of times when people are working one-on-one with me with coaching and thinking about buying a home and looking at improving their credit, we walk through what do you need to do with your credit, and we look at income, and they're thinking in their head, I'm just speaking from my experience working with people, they're like, I'll be able to buy a home that's this or whatever if I'm approved for it. Just because you're approved for a certain amount doesn't mean you should actually buy that home. Like, you really need to know your numbers before even getting here. So that's just my 2 cents. That's me speaking.
I want to piggyback on what Ayana's saying. And that's the really important thing. And this is why I like to help my clients, because something simple as taxes is really important. We can be looking in the same city, but if we're in school district A versus school district B, the taxes on that home can vary greatly. If your taxes, and I just want to throw this out there so you guys can start to think, in the same way. $1,200 in property taxes a year means $100 payment per month, because what's going to happen is you're going to put that $100 into escrow with your mortgage payment every month. And then at the end of the year, they'll pay the $1,200 for you. But if that school district A may have $1,200, that's $100 added onto your mortgage. School district B, $4,800. That's $400 extra onto your mortgage. And you simply do that by dividing the number by the month to find out, what that number impacts you on a monthly basis. Again, your lender's going to give you the principal and interest. We're going to tack on either that 100 or that 400. Those are the things I do. I actually create spreadsheets and things like that for my clients so they can get a real understanding, and they can kind of change out numbers. Oh, the sales price is 140 now, not 150, or
So if I don't know my numbers, if I work with you, if I'm in the Atlanta area, if I work with you, that's something that you can help me do. Because I know a lot of real estate agents don't do that.
So and trust me, again, I differentiate myself. So that is not something that a real estate agent is required to do by any means. But again, I have a great financial knowledge, so I'm able to additionally help my clients, in that I will always tell you to consult with your lender and to get the final information from your lender. However, throughout the process, I can help, kind of gauge and help you understand how your lender is even coming up with these numbers.
Okay, so I want to just make sure I didn't miss anybody. Someone was saying plus HOA insurance and taxes. Yes, that's what I was trying to say. With just, it's not just you make your principal interest and that's it. It's so much more taxes and HOA fee that you need to consider. Thank you, Natalie, for the compliment. I think I touched on the comments that we had. So we talked about the offer, your earnest money deposit, usually 1 or 2% of the purchase price. So you need to have that cash on hand. So if you didn't see the conversation with Sean yesterday, please go back and watch on Financial Gardens Facebook or YouTube. The replay is there. So we went through detail about what you need to do to actually qualify for a mortgage. And one of those things was having cash on hand, because you're going to need to make an earnest money deposit, and you're going to need to have something for closing costs too. So after go ahead.
I was going to say, we can go ahead and get into the inspection. And just really quickly, one of the components of the offer was the due diligence piece. During that time, it's important to get your inspection. Remember, guys, I told you, well, first and foremost, the inspection industry is not licensed. There are certifications that inspectors can get. However, this is not a licensed industry. So I definitely recommend that you take the referrals of people that you know from your real estate agent. Again, I have a team of people that I refer people to that I trust and I have success with. And so again, that's really important to do your research on reviews and selecting an inspector. Additionally, I think that you should get the inspection done sooner rather than later. Say, for instance, we negotiate you a 10-day due diligence. Why not call the inspector out there tomorrow? Or say it's Wednesday, let's get the inspector out there by Saturday. One of the most important things is that you need to be there. Be there at your inspection.
Yes.
Listen and learn.
No,
Did you have anything?
You want to share my story?
Feel free.
Before I share my story, I got some comments in here before I get to that piece of it. So I wanted to make sure answer some questions. Do you have recommendation for lenders in Michigan? Rochelle, you want to answer that?
So currently, I would say feel free to shoot me a text message, and I will definitely look into that for you and see if I could find the best person, for lending in Michigan. I would like to touch base with a couple real estate agents before I make that claim.
Sean Jones was on yesterday, so I'll drop his information. He's best to get a hold of him on social media. So I'll definitely have his on. I'll put it in the comments or something after this live is over. But I will share just a little bit on that when thinking about lenders. It's definitely a difference between the big banks. So your big bank would be Bank of America, Chase, Quicken Loans, Wells Fargo's. Those would be your big banks. And then you have your local banks, like I would consider like a Flagstar or First Independence Bank. Those are your like more local regional banks, and then your credit unions. In my personal experience, I feel like local banks and credit unions are more lenient in their lending, and I've had a great relationship working with a local bank. I had some hiccups along the way. And with the credit union, my credit union was hands down the best experience that I had with comparing it to the local bank. So I got it.
So with that being said, really quickly, Sharice, one, I would suggest maybe you can shoot her a message, Latasha, on with who your local bank that you had the good experience with. Additionally, contact Sean. And the reason I say that is because when you're looking for a lender, you're shopping around. So you want to contact them both, ask questions. Those questions are going to give you additional questions to ask the other people, and you can make a well-rounded decision. Again, it's always going to be a shop around process on what's right for you.
And so one of those questions may be, what's your interest rate? Do you give any, if I have an account with you, do I get an extra 0.25 off my interest rate? Can you think, just these are some questions that you may be thinking about with a lender. Ask them what their typical like closing process is. Like, you want to see how responsive they are when they're asking questions. Now, some people, if they're a mortgage banker, they don't want to answer questions because you're taking the time away from another sale. That's the mindset of bigger banks. But I feel like with a local bank or credit union, that's really not their makeup. They kind of have more time to walk through those questions. And I had a list. Like when I was calling, Rochelle was a great resource for me because when I was going through the home buying experience, I was like, what should I ask? They said this. And she was walking me through that whole process.
Good answer.
Yeah. So of what to ask and, what to know with that. So my experience with my inspection, before we do that, I have to do a plug of Essence has nominated Financial Guardian, not nominated. We are a semi-finalist to win $100,000. $100,000 for Financial Guardian. Financial Guardian is educating kids in Detroit and Detroit areas, and we're working on building on an online platform to reach many others. That $100,000 could do wonders for Financial Guardian, which is my business. If you have not voted, please go on financialguardian.com. You'll see a big pop-up. It says Essence. Click that link and vote for me. It's simple. You don't even have to leave your email or nothing. Just click vote for me. I'm in the middle. Tasha Danielle, Financial Guardian. All right.
So for my friend.
I got a plug. And if you voted, tag people that you know didn't vote. They don't even know nothing about this. I got to get this money, y'all.
I done voted multiple times. No, I did.
Okay, so my inspection. So this was my first time actually living in an actual house. I always grew up in an apartment, so to me, living in a house was foreign. So when I got my inspector, I went off of referral, and I had a family friend who is a contractor come over to walk the house or whatever with me and the inspector. My inspection was probably almost 3 hours because I did purchase a multifamily and it was set for 3 units. So the basement unit had 2 bedrooms, the basement had 2 bedrooms, a full kitchen, bathroom. The second floor, it was like 3 full-on apartments in here. So the inspection process did take a while, probably was more than 3 hours actually. But with that, I was here. I was asking questions when he was up in the attic. I'm asking him like, "What you looking for? What What's this? You breathing or looking funny? What's that?" It's not. I don't care about. I didn't care about little light fixtures or different stuff like that. But when he said he's saying different things that he's gonna note this stuff. He or she's gonna know stuff in your report. But when you're there, you can ask questions. And since I don't know anything about houses, I had a family friend who's a contractor who could be like, that's not a big deal. That's only going to be $200. I got it. You know what I mean? So I could feel more comfortable with all the repairs that was being called out because it can be overwhelming. Rochelle, if you hearing this and you like, oh my God, like this house is going to fall over when I move in. So it can be overwhelming. My thing is, if when you are going through the home inspection process, trust your gut. Because for me, when my inspector was in the basement, it was a finished basement. And I was concerned for mold. And I said, how do you know that there's not mold behind these finished walls? And he told me that, we will be able to see it on the paneling. You will be able to see from the floor. And when he was using his different instruments, he assured me that it was no water coming in the basement. That was a lie. And even in the seller's disclosure, the sellers put there was no water in the basement. Fast forward a year after being in my home, I ended up having to put up 28 steel beams because I had severe structure damage and water damage. But I'm still here. It's not the end of the world. And because I ran my numbers, I'm still making amazing cash flow on my multifamily and going to be going through litigation with the sellers. But that's something that can happen in a home buying experience. So I don't want to make it seem like it's rainbows and sunshines, but I should have trusted my gut. If I would have known that, I would have went to the sellers and had them come down because it was still a good deal at the end of the day from a cash flow perspective. But I would have had them come down versus me spending now going back and trying to sue them or my inspector or whatever. Because I did hire, I keep saying licensed, but a certified inspector. I did get an FHA loan, so I went through appraisal and it still happened. So the best thing for me is trust your gut. I should have asked more. I should have maybe, can you cut this piece of panel out? Like, what can you do to get behind it? A lot of inspectors have this instrument to show you the moisture or water behind finished walls, but that may not be the best case. So I just want to share my personal story about that. So I had a comment. Should you take a contractor with you to an inspection? I knew someone for me, so I knew a contractor. And even with that, we still missed the basement because it was finished and it really was no signs of it. He had tools showing it, but it still happened. You know what I mean? So you want to give insight to that, Rochelle?
I absolutely. Extra eyes, why not? Again, I say be there, look, listen, learn. You don't know anything about the house, but this is the opportunity to learn. As it relates to the contractor, hopefully they're experienced and they're, well educated and that they can indeed help coach you through that process. However, my inspector, I trust with my clients to actually be that contractor, to actually explain, to make sure they understand things that are a big deal and the things that are not. My inspector is not there to kill the deal, but he is definitely there to have my buyer's interest first.
Okay. So that was my little experience with the inspection process. I bought a home after that. So it's not like I just was like, I'm never buying real estate again. And I'm about to buy another house this year. So appraisal. So after.
Really quickly on the inspection, I want to say really quickly, that is a moment of possible renegotiation. Like Latasha said, had she identified something, she could have asked for them to drop the price. Really quickly, I had a sale that took place. We knew the house, the roof was 17 years old. We knew that the sellers had done some work on the roof. However, when we went out and got our inspection, there was still actual moisture and leakages in the roof currently. So this is the point that we went back to negotiate and hope to get them to replace the entire roof. Why? Because it's 17 years old. We could have asked for it to be patched or, pieces replaced, but we didn't. Again, I have my buyer's interest at heart. The whole roof is what we asked to be replaced. They rebutted. They said, no, we had work done already. So that further concerns me if you worked on it and it's still leaking. So again, all in all, we did get the sellers to agree to an entire new roof for my buyers, all because our inspector identified a leak, and your realtor has to go and fight for you because they offer other scenarios and other things, a portion of the roof and things of that nature. But 17 years, why not give my buyer peace of mind? And
that's a good point, because after the inspection, you probably are going to have to renegotiate the price. I didn't identify the water or the structure damage, but the roof was recommended to be replaced, and the sellers didn't agree with that at first. So what I did was I had a roofing company. Let's get roofers out. Now I will say, if you want a second opinion or a specialist to come out, if you're like, oh, let's get an estimate on a new roof. If you're not the homeowner, they're going to charge you to come out and give you estimates about whatever.
It's worth it. It's called doing your due diligence.
No, I agree. And so when we were going through this or whatever, the sellers just came down. I found a company that quoted me off of what a new roof would be off the dimensions of the home, and the sellers came down. They split coming down on the list price and then giving me the other half at closing. So that's what we came up with our agreement. So when you do the inspection, you probably will have to have some renegotiate if you are overwhelmed by the repairs that may be needed on the home. So appraisal. What's an appraisal? I've already had somebody spend all this time in the home inspecting it. Now what?
Okay. So I will say this. It does get pretty quiet between the end of due diligence, which is about 10 days into the deal, right? 10-day due diligence, and the appraisal report. So it gets quiet for about 15, 20 days. We're waiting on, once we've done the inspection and we've decided we've renegotiated the deal, everyone feels fair. We then order the appraisal. The lender will order the appraisal. And the purpose of the appraisal is to let the bank know the value of the home currently so that they don't overlend on the home. So $150,000 house. Generally, the appraisal comes back. It's $150,000 or a couple $1,000s more. Everyone's happy. We continue to wait. And at this point, we're waiting on closing day, which about 10 more days. So sometimes the appraisal comes back low. It's $150,000 house. The buyers were willing to pay $150,000. However, it appraised at $145,000. Well, the bank is not willing to loan you $150,000. So you have a couple options at this point. We can go back and renegotiate the price with the seller, asking them to come down to what the home is actually worth, because that's what the appraised value is. Or we can decide to come out of pocket the additional $5,000, again, because the bank will not lend you money because they don't think the house is worth that much. So, you have those two options.
Okay.
And again, that's a renegotiating time as well. Again, usually the appraisal comes back, life is good. We wait for closing day.
Okay. Thank you, Richard T. James Jr. for the compliment. We are awesome, Rochelle. Okay. So what I want to mention about the appraisal is, or ask a question is, if I really want a house and the house doesn't appraise at a certain amount, should I pay? If I can afford to pay out of pocket, if it's a $5,000 or $10 difference, should I pay it? If I have it, what do you think?
It depends. Okay. It depends. Like what matters to you? Is it a house that you can't live without, that you can't lose? Is it in a school district? Do we search for 6 months and couldn't find something else? I don't necessarily recommend paying more for a home than it's worth. But again, the appraiser is human. They can make a mistake. You can know information. You can have inside information where this community or this area is going to appreciate greatly. So those are things, situational, and it depends.
Okay. Now I just want to get your perspective on that. So now We have a few more minutes left. We've been on for almost an hour. We are at number 8, which is closing. I made it through the appraisal. I made it through the inspection. I still want this house. Now closing. What is that all about?
Again, we're waiting. We're just waiting for closing day. Approximately 3 days before the closing day, you're going to get a document. It's called the CD, a closing disclosure, and it discloses all of the costs. I recommend the day you receive this, again, it should be 3 days prior to closing, you start studying that document. You become very familiar and you understand those numbers and those figures. You ask questions to the lender, to the closing attorney, to the real estate agent. This document is going to have all your closing costs. So that 4% of cost that we talked about, the taxes, the prepayment for insurance, the prepayment for all of the other things that are required to go into escrow, those items are going to show up there. If you don't understand them, inquire. It's just really, really important. I will say, and I take pride, I review those contracts and those closing disclosures very carefully. And oftentimes I save my clients money because the listing agent failed to note something correctly or to properly disclose all the information. So on several occasions at the closing table or on closing day, I've contacted the closing attorney and said, hey, you have a cost that belongs to the seller on my buyer side. It may be a default buyer cost, but because the seller failed to do something or because the seller agreed to something within my contract, this is their cost. So on many occasions, I've saved my clients money and I take pride in that. But again, I do recommend 3 days prior to, you're going to get that document, review, understand, check the numbers, and ask questions.
Yeah, I think it's so important to ask questions. People don't feel empowered to ask questions, and I always got some questions. I know I was fortunate enough to have you to bounce questions off of. I had my real estate agent, but because we're good friends, I would ask you like, should my real estate agent be doing this? What should be doing on the closing cost process? Should this lender be taking this long because it was my first time going through it? You know what I mean? So luckily, I did have you, even though you were not my real estate agent. I still just was like calling you randomly throughout the day, texting you like crazy, like asking you, is this supposed to go this way? Just because it was my first time buying a house and I was nervous. So
this is the largest purchase that most people are going to make in their home. So
yeah.
You should not feel intimidated or anything like that to ask questions. The person that you work with, the team of people that you work with should be willing to explain the process and to educate you.
Right. In the closing costs, if you didn't see yesterday, Sean Jones was talking about those closing costs are cash that's the cash you need to have on hand. And because the bank or your lender is going to be checking to see where this income is coming from, it has to be sourced. So if you need to get additional money for the closing costs, when you say you want to take a cash advance, you can't do that. You can't take borrowed money for closing costs. So when you're thinking about buying a home, there are a lot of costs associated with it. In your closing costs, the down payment is included. So that's one part that's in the closing costs, but you already had to have an earnest money deposit. And then now you have closing costs. So it's really important to know, I mentioned before, down payment assistance programs, because that can help you with closing costs. If you were in Georgia, what's the name of the program again?
Georgia Dream.
Georgia Dream is a good program. I mentioned MISTA for Michigan, but there's also another program called NACA, NACA, that offers assistance for closing costs. And it's not according to your income. So if you're a high income earner and you never can qualify for down payment assistance, you could possibly be able to get closing costs covered going through NACA. And I have some experience going through the program. I opted out of going through their program. It's great. If it wasn't, I wouldn't be recommending it. But for me and what I had going on, I just chose to just go it alone. So
can I make a comment there? And when working with those programs, guys, and just we're working with a lender, period, the underwriting process, you have to be transparent. You have to be honest. You have to, keep the lender informed. Once you're pre-approved based on your financial position at that time. So if you start using up credit cards and things of that nature, things change and your availability or your buyability change. So it's very important to be transparent with your lender, with your agent. And also, one of the most important things, because Tasha alluded to the closing costs and that check that you have to bring on closing day. And again, that CD document is going to basically tell the bottom line of what that check needs to be. I lost my train of thought for a second there. But closing costs. But the number that you want to talk to your lender about from day one, most important number is cash to close. That's not only your down payment, the 3.5%, that's that other 3 to 4% closing cost. So that's the total. Cash to close is the number you care about. And that's the check that you need to bring to the closing table. Again, on a $100,000 house, you estimate 4% in closing costs and 3.5% on an FHA loan. That's $7,500 cash to close. That's an estimate, again, because we're estimating 4%. But again, when you get that CD, and the closer you quote on your insurance, the closer you get to closing day and to that CD, we'll be able to verify those numbers and vet them out. Again, the expectation is 7.5% of the sales price.
All right. So I don't see any questions or any comments coming through. So that is it for us. I'm going to put Rochelle's information back on the screen again. I've been showing it throughout the night. But again, if you are in Atlanta, or you want a good resource about home ownership and the whole home buying process, why not talk to a real estate broker? And her information is on the screen. Do you have any closing remarks before we end this live?
I'm really excited about real estate. I'm happy to talk about it. Feel free to shoot me a text, email if you have any questions. Let's go out there and buy up this real estate.
Yes, I can't wait to have you on Thursday. So we talk about cash flow and multifamilies and all that good stuff. And being a landlord, I got one more comment. No problem. You are welcome. See you guys. We got 2 more days of this. It's real estate week. So thank you so much for joining us. See you guys tomorrow, 6 p.m. Bye.